We talked about this guy the other day. That is Caleb Williams, because of the RG3 and many other people have had the take. Pull Eli Manning. Don't go to Chicago. Pull Eli Manning.
The other thing about that yesterday, I forgot to add, you're a little late to that opinion, buddy. That was
I was
something...
out for 7 weeks. What do you want from me here?
Not you.
I'm in a coma.
RG3.
Oh, RG3, yeah.
But when people were saying it before a couple weeks ago, it was like, I don't know. And then they went and got Keenan Allen, and they're like, I have a 9th pick too, and now it's like a ridiculous thing to say out loud. You're a couple weeks late there, RG3.
Didn't they also just nab a running back? Why am I spacing on the name? Didn't they just sign somebody else too, or trade for somebody else too? Am I missing? Littering in. Did they get DeAndre Swift? Okay,
yes,
that happened.
Swift,
okay,
yes.
I wanted to make sure I got my name right.
3-year, $24 million. So every running back basically made $8 million a year.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know what Swift has left in the tank, but, it was okay in Philly last year. Stays healthy. Like, there you go. You've upgraded the offense a little bit. Dan Orlovsky came out with a take this morning that made us go, huh? And actually look through some of the years. He said that the Chicago Bears, drafting number 1 overall this year, is the best situation a quarterback has gone into as the number 1 pick in the last 30 years in the National Football League.
Why 30?
I don't know. It's a very random number. So it takes you back to what? 1994. Glory days. Last time the Niners won a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And so I would look through basically since 1994. Here are the guys that have been drafted number 1 overall as a quarterback. Peyton Manning to the Colts in 1998.
Awful team.
Tim Couch to the Restart Browns in 99.
Yeah.
Michael Vick to the Falcons in 01. Now, they had been in a Super Bowl a couple of years previous to that. I'd have to go back and look at kind of what those offseasons looked like.
Did they trade up for Vick, or did they get the number 1 pick outright that year?
I believe they got it outright.
Because Vick was a pretty hot prospect.
He was great.
What he did at Virginia Tech
unbelievable
was
at Virginia
unreal.
Tech, right? David Carr at the expansion Texans in 02. No, it's horrible. Carson Palmer in 2003 to the Bengals.
So I went and looked at that one. Was one that I was interested in. They had Chad Johnson was on that team. So his rookie year, the 04 season, they were 6-7. He was 6-7 as a starter. They were 8-8.
That's not terrible.
They weren't the traditional Bengals. They weren't the Bungles. They weren't the Achilles Smith Bengals.
They were good for a minute there.
They started getting pieces.
Couldn't win those playoff games. That was kind of their problem. Eli to the Chargers, which he obviously demanded a trade out. Alex Smith to the Niners in 05. That was a dumpster fire. Jamarcus Russell to the Raiders in 07. No, thank you. Stafford were the Lions winless in 08 or 1 win?
They were the Lions.
It's the Lions. That was in 2009. Sam Bradford to the Rams in 2010. Cam Newton to the Panthers in 11. Andrew Luck, now this is the one that I first thought of, to the Colts in 2012, because they got the number 1 pick, mainly because Peyton Manning was hurt and they made him sit out for a year. But that was a team that was winning at a very high level in the years previous to that. And then you go Winston in 15, Goff in 16, Mayfield in 18, and Burrow and Kyler Murray are the last.
I guess on paper, maybe Orlovsky ends up being right. It's a random number again to go 30 years, but it's a big number and it sounds great on a take. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just real uneasy on the coaching aspect of this. I don't know.
That's the biggest issue that I have with it. Of you're clearly starting over at quarterback. Fields is gone. Why was there not a fresh start with an offensive-minded head coach? That's what I don't get. Everything else I agree with.
I believe they fired their front office guy, but they kept Eberflus, and I don't know. It's just really weird what they chose to do. Or not. Maybe it was the offensive coordinator I'm thinking of.
The offensive coordinator they got rid of. Yeah. Poles is still there, their GM.
Yeah. I think the Bears are a weird franchise in general. Their ownership seems weird. They're always doing things to piss their fans off. They have no idea where their stadium's going to be. Winning in Chicago's awesome. Yeah. Caleb could do something special, but if they're not good in their first year, or he's not quite as good in year 1 as maybe C.J. Stroud, what's the move? Well, it's probably going to be to panic and fire Eberflus, right? And so if that's not at the end of the year, it's in the middle of the year. Do you have 3 coaches in 2 years?
Right.
It's just the stability of the franchise itself. Do you trust the Bears?
No.
Okay. So that's why it was a conversation a couple weeks ago, Dirt, was should you pull an Eli? Do you trust the organization? You could certainly say that about a handful of other teams that are behind him in this draft, and I think it's fair, but that's why it was a conversation, was do you trust the organization?
Yeah, I think that's where, then you get into the coaching thing is where we're in lockstep, because then that happened to Baker Mayfield as a rookie. Remember, he came in with Hugh Jackson as his head coach. They were like 1-9, turfed him, hired Freddie Kitchens. Kept him around for another year as an interim guy. This happened to Herbert his rookie year, came in with Anthony Lynn, I believe, as a head coach, fired him 10, 11 games in, then you start over, let's go get a new head coach. Now you go find another guy 4 or 5 years in. But the point that I would make, though, about like the coaching thing is the biggest issue. The organizational stuff, though, and this is what I kind of brought up yesterday at the end of the show, there's nobody that's in the top 10 that I really trust that much. Like, you're drafting in the top 10 for a reason.
You don't trust Bob Myers and the Washington Commanders?
I don't. I get that people are excited about new ownership. Don't we want to see them do something first?
Yeah.
Before we just say, hey, it's not the last guy.
But at least the coach has a track record.
Sure.
Good D coordinator in Dallas, got to a Super Bowl in Atlanta. Like, at least I know that coach has
blew
had
the biggest
some
lead in Super Bowl history?
No, Kyle Shanahan did. Get that right.
We don't put that one
Shanahan's blown 3 Super Bowls, even though he wasn't the head coach of one of them. That was another Super Bowl takeaway. He blew 3 Super Bowls.
That's right.
Oh, I didn't know
he's now 0-3. He gets the credit for that one.
Yeah.
The Pats, I mean, they're starting over with a general manager. They're starting over with a head coach. Like that, there's all sorts of holes on that roster.
Yep.
The Vikings, who might move up. The Jets, really, Woody Johnson. Okay, but trust them.
Yeah, the Vikings.
Their quarterback might be the VP for RFK. What are we doing here? The Giants. Why would anybody trust the Mara family?
Because they won 2 Super Bowls.
That was a decade ago. Move on. The Titans with their new ownership, who just fired one of the most respected head coaches in the league.
Yeah, but a guy couldn't get
the Falcons, who did not want to pay Lamar Jackson, and now a year later gave $100 million guaranteed to Kirk Cousins. Great move. Like the Chargers are in the top 10. Like, who do you trust? I don't trust any of those teams.
I trust a few of them.
I don't trust any of them.
Minnesota's a team I would throw in this. Kevin O'Connell got high grades on the player feedback survey.
I think he's a really good head coach.
They've got Justin Jefferson.
They might trade this offseason.
Why? Why would you trade Justin Jefferson?
He's going to want a massive contract
extension.
I don't care. Does he want to sign there? Is he going to sign?
At some point, you, me, and fans, we need to stop pretending to be capologists and GMs in certain regards. Would you want your team to have Justin Jefferson or not?
Yes.
Okay. What are we debating here?
Pay him the money.
Give me a top target for an incoming rookie quarterback, a good offensive coach, at least one that has that kind of cachet around the league. The Chargers have reset, and many people will trust Harbaugh because he's done it on both levels at multiple stops. You go through some of the other teams. The Commanders, again, at least Dan Quinn's done it. At least I know he's done it.
That defense looked great in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, it was a bad moment, no doubt. LaFleur's a good offensive mind. I don't think I'm going to hold everything on Dan Quinn of the loss. That Mike McCarthy is the coach of that team.
That is true.
I just think you can rattle off, and some of those teams deservedly are questioned. Other teams, I think, are willing to say, yeah, I can get it here. I know the Chucks of the world that are Viking fans are all out on this team if they draft J.J. McCarthy. But the Bears maybe are the least trustworthy? Of all the teams you named, are they the least trustworthy?
I don't know about that. I got a noodle on that one. I don't know if they deserve the top spot on that list.
New England certainly is not sitting in a great spot right now.
Man.
Their owner's 81 years old.
Yeah, it's getting rubbing tugs.
They let Belichick do what he did the last couple years. They hired a completely unproven commodity in Gerard Mayo, and they don't have anything. They need to trade out.
Yeah.
Do not draft Drake. Don't do that to Drake May.
Or Jaden Daniels, 2 or 3.
Or Jaden Daniels. Yeah. And one of those two guys, you should be saying, get out of there. You have nobody there for me. Go get multiple assets. The Bears, they have no track record. They haven't had a winning season in like 11 years.
That's not true. They went to the playoffs a couple of years ago. The double doink.
Yeah, they had the
double doink game.
The double doink game.
They went to the playoffs twice with Trubisky.
What have they done since then?
I mean, they've never had a franchise quarterback.
Never.
That's their issue.
And also, what have they done since the double doink game?
Hey, come on.
They've been one of the worst franchises. It's unbelievable.